Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 39 locations throughout Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. The Saints have played 2 games, and they're 0-2 by a combined total of 4 points. Tough to lose the way they've lost, Lenny, but a win is a win, a loss is a loss, and they are what they are.
Exactly, and this is the 4th time in 5 years the Saints have started 0-2. This is very reminiscent of 2 years ago in that you had 2 games at the start of the year that you were in position to win and just couldn't close out. If you remember 2014, the Saints opened at Atlanta, at Cleveland, let 2 games get away late, one of them in overtime, one of them in the last play field goal, very similar to what we saw yesterday. And it's frustrating because I know the people, sitting on Airline Drive right now feel like, yeah, you're probably 2 plays, 3 plays away from being 2-0, but those 2-3 plays didn't go your way, and now all of a sudden you're on the wrong side of that. The good news is you're only 1 game out in the division. Of course, everybody else is 1-1. You got to jump a lot of people, but you also haven't played anyone in your division as of yet.
Yeah, it's very obvious to me that Carolina is easily the best team in the division, record notwithstanding. They're really good. They might be better than last year. Josh Norman, that's an interesting debate to talk about that, but offensively with Benjamin, they're better. So it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can keep pace with them moving forward. The Saints' positives, clearly, their defensive play. They bent but didn't break. They forced 3 turnovers. They didn't give up a touchdown. What else do you want? But seemingly the most basic tenet of NFL football cost the team a game. Just basic protection on a field goal. The B gap gets shot, and again, the film will reveal it, or the video will reveal it, but the bottom line is that the guy, Hankins, split Taron Armstead and Andrews Pete. And whose responsibility? Sean Payton and Coach McMahon will determine that, but that just can't happen, Lenny. That's a 10-point swing.
It is. Instead of being up 3-0, you're down 7-0. You mentioned the 3 turnovers, or the 3 takeaways, and not allowing a touchdown. Amazing that the last 74 times the team's had a +3 turnover margin and not allowed an offensive touchdown, they've won. The last time that didn't happen was that infamous Monday night game back in 2006 in Arizona, the Bears and the Cardinals, that everybody remembers for Denny Green, rest his soul, his post-game rant afterwards, we are what they thought they were, and that whole bit. And that we could talk about numbers and stats are for losers and all of that, but there are certain numbers that predict victory. And those are 2 of them right there. And in spite of that, because of that one play, that's really the one play you can go back and point to, the Saints didn't come out victorious.
Tulane played competitively, lost to Navy, and special teams were huge there. Again, a missed field goal gave Navy the field position it needed to drive for a touchdown. Now, it wasn't a gimme field goal, but again, this is something that's plagued Tulane for quite some time, and they don't have the margin for error, Lenny. They can't throw the football. That's pretty obvious, unless they go back to Coulier, and even that's a mixed bag, but they completed 1 pass to a wide receiver for 5 yards in the entire game, and Jonathan Brantley's a young kid, and he was playing a good team. They were competitive, so give them credit. Their defense kept them in it, and their offense ran the ball effectively, but you've got to have some semblance of balance against better teams.
You do, and that was, as I was watching it unfold Saturday night, that was the thing that came to mind. Okay, if Navy's going to score somehow, whether you hold them and you hold them to a field goal or they go in and get the touchdown, now you've got to drive back down the field, and you don't have a lot of time, and you don't have a passing game. So how are you going to do this? And, of course, Tulane didn't move the ball at final series, ended up giving it up on downs. Navy ran out the clock by taking a knee. And that's the one thing. And it's not just Tulane. It's any offense, the service academies, the Georgia Techs of the world, the people who run an option-based offense that doesn't really include much of a passing game. I was surprised Navy threw the ball as much as they did at times, but that's the concern. You're in a situation, you're 1 score down, trying to run a 2-minute drill. What exactly are you going to do? And this is a much improved Tulane team. There's no question about it. You mentioned the special teams, the one play. I thought that kick might have been out of DeRocco's range, but they are better on special teams. And that was obviously, we would sit here week in, week out last year and talk about how awful Tulane's special teams were. They are better on special teams this year. That one play put aside.
Yeah, they were missing Sherman Beatty, too, who's big in their return game. And the two teams combined to throw 24 passes. Imagine that in college football today. LSU, well, it was a tale of two halves. They were brilliant in the first half, and they had to sweat it out in the second half. And it's not like they dropped off terribly. They just didn't finish drives in the second half, and they turned the ball over on a fumble. And then Mississippi State got a spark from Archbishop Rummel's Damian Williams. And if you're an LSU fan, you ought to be a little bit relieved they didn't bring him into the game earlier because they just weren't getting it done with their starter.
No, and, give Damian credit for putting a spark into the team and helping ignite that fourth quarter comeback. But you have to be able to finish. When you got your foot on someone's throat, you've got to step on it and you've got to finish the game. Yeah, LSU was easily in command in the first half and just could not close it out in terms of a convincing win. They had to hang on for a 3-point win. And look, they're catching a break here schedule-wise in terms of Mississippi State, Auburn, followed by Missouri after that in a couple of weeks. That is arguably three of the five worst teams in the SEC that they're catching these first 3 weeks. And then perhaps, we don't know how long Del Rio is out at Florida at this point. They might be catching Florida with, ironically enough, if you will, a Purdue transfer, a quarterback. The guy who took Danny Etling's place 2 years ago, who's now at Florida, is the backup to Del Rio. So we'll have a lot of storylines if that ends up being the case 3 weeks from now. But look, they've got a chance to get on a little bit of a run here in terms of the schedule. But we know what we're pointing towards here in terms of LSU, where everything is counting down towards the first Saturday in November in that matchup with Alabama. You've just got to continue to pile up the wins until then. And if you do, you're going to be in position to perhaps get yourself back in the conversation where you wanted to be when the year started.
Incidentally, a lot of people posting and corresponding with me about the uniforms. It was a one-shot deal whether you liked it or not. So just understand that, okay? It's a one-shot deal. Stay with it. High school football, another great weekend this past week, another big week to come, which we look forward to. And we've got another good matchup coming up on the First NBC Bank Prep Showcase.
It doesn't get much better when it comes to rivalries in the New Orleans area. And Trahan and Hanville, pleased to be back in St. Charles Parish this Friday night for that one. Friday night live at 7 at SportsNOLA.com. Watch the re-air Saturday at noon on WHNO TV 20. Figures to be a good one once again. Whenever those two teams get together, throw out the records. It's going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, radio on Thursday we'll have John Aaron against East Jefferson from Haas Memphis on WGSO 990 AM, and of course first game at Zephyr Field ever coming up Friday night. John Curtis and Brother Martin should be good to watch as well. So another great weekend of high school sports. Stay with SportsNOLA.com to get all the information you could ever want. Lenny, thanks. Have a great week.
All right. See you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 39 locations throughout the New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. He's Lenny. I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.